Victor Gao. Welcome to the program, sir. With NATO now planning its military presence in Greenland and Trump citing the presence of Russian and Chinese so-called threats in the vicinity of the island, and now Denmark is sounding the alarm about the American expansion. So who is the real threat in this situation, do you think?
Very obviously, the real threat, and right now the only threat to Greenland is President Trump and his government, which threatens to take over Greenland, to plunder the assets of Greenland for the use of the United States. There are no major Russian or Chinese ships in the vicinity of Greenland at all. From the Chinese perspective, there is no iota of interest on a geopolitical level of analysis for Greenland at all. Therefore, anyone with any iota of intelligence in this world knows that it is the United States which is threatening Greenland. And it's amazing that the Secretary General of NATO doesn't seem to have any iota of intelligence in his mind. He's not the Secretary General of NATO. He is the Secretary General of the United States at NATO. So I think we are faced with truly a historical moment when you really have very incapable people running a big organization like NATO. And NATO is on the verge of being fractured because one NATO member, in this particular case, the United States, the most important NATO member, wants to use war against another NATO member, which happens to be Denmark. And this is the moment of truth. And the Secretary General of NATO is not eager to save NATO, but is very eager to plunge NATO more into the abyss. This truly is turning NATO into the laughingstock for mankind.
And Trump has stated that he will complete all his plans in Greenland, quote, whether they like it or not, including U.S. citizens. How does China view such an approach?
Well, China is firmly opposed to any acts of aggression, wars, for example, to take over another country or part of another country. Now, I would say if President Trump and the US government dare to move in that dangerous direction, it will really spell the beginning of the end of Pax Americana, because it will reveal the true color of the United States. The United States is not caring about security, sovereignty, territorial integrity of other countries. It only cares about plundering the assets and the wealth of other countries, even at the cost of violating the sovereignty and territorial integrity of other nations. This will mark a free fall from the so-called top of the mountain to the abyss of the rule of the jungle. And history will look back and judge that this will be a very dark moment in the history of the United States, because it turns itself into a pirate, and it turns itself into an aggressor, an invader, and preys upon a country which has prided itself for decades as a very staunch ally of the United States and a proud member of NATO, that is Denmark.
And Beijing has repeatedly raised concerns over NATO expansion in Asia-Pacific, with the alliance now setting its sights on the Arctic. What reaction can we expect from China?
Well, China is firmly opposed to NATO expansion, especially into the Asian-Pacific region, because China believes that if NATO moves in that dangerous direction, it is a violation of the original charter obligations of NATO as an organization. But now NATO itself is on the brink of collapsing under the weight of US threatened invasion of Greenland, disregarding the sovereignty and territorial integrity of Denmark. So I think this is the moment of truth. All of us need to watch the situation very closely, and I hope mankind will call on the United States not to commit any act of aggression against a proud nation like Denmark. On this particular point, I am completely on the side of the Danish people and the Danish government. No one should allow the United States to commit an act of aggression against Denmark and seize Greenland. I understand the about 50,000 people in Greenland are opposed to any act of aggression by the United States to take over Greenland. They want to decide their own fate, and they have no interest of being acquired by the United States. This is the moment for President Trump and his government to really demonstrate at least an iota of interest for democracy and respecting the will of the people of Greenland and people of Denmark.
All right, Chinese lawyer and academic chair professor at Soochow University in Beijing, Victor Gao, thank you so much for this analysis.